Call to order the Park and Recreation Board meeting for January the 22nd. It's a beautiful day at 5 o'clock, and we appreciate everyone being here. So, Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Davis.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Pacto.
Here.
Bogus.
Here.
Massive.
Here.
Potter.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Fowler.
Here.
Elmeyer.
Here.
Banter.
Here.
We have a quorum. Okay, let's go through the agenda and see if we have approval for the agenda as written.
So moved.
Been moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go right to presentations, but before we do, I want to recognize some council people that are here. Josh Mandelbaum is here, Bill Gray is here, Joe Gatto, Linda Westergaard is here, and Connie Boson is here. So we had 5 council people that braved the weather, and as you can see, Josh had us close the blinds so you can't see the weather outside. It's sunny and 70 degrees. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, we'll ask Kelly to start throughout the Volunteer Presentations Awards, and we'll get some pictures.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Bill Gray, Council Members Westergaard, Mandelbaum, Boson, and Gatto. Thank you for helping present tonight's awards. Chair Davis, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Callie Layout Courtwright, Parks and Recreation Supervisor. I'm incredibly excited to be here tonight celebrating with you our 2018 Volunteer Awards. Tonight marks a significant moment in the history of our volunteer program. I've had the great honor over the past 10 years watching our program grow. We established our volunteer award program in 2009, and at that time, we had just a few hundred volunteers. But our staff had a vision that we could work harder at engaging our community in our parks, on our trails, in our cemeteries, and in all the programs that we do. In this time, our volunteers have cleaned miles and miles of trails and rivers. They've grown over 2.5 million plants. They provided assistance to thousands of people in need, picked up more than 530,000 pounds of litter, brush, and debris from our public lands. Volunteers have beautified our city and recorded our history, built spaces for us to play, grown food, restored habitat, and so much more. In 2018, we had more than 4,500 volunteers donating over 34,000 hours of service. But even bigger than that, this year marks 10 years since we started our awards. And in those 10 years, more than 30,000 volunteers have donated more than $5.2 million in service. Tonight, we will share some of their stories. Kevin Atterberg served as our 2018 Iowa STEM Teacher Extern. Kevin is a former Nebraska Ag Teacher of the Year and Stillwell Junior High Science Teacher. He donated more than 240 hours researching monarchs and their habitat in our parks. Sorry, there's a problem with the slide. 1 second. There we go. Through his volunteer experience, he learned real-world applications that he could transfer into educational opportunities in his classroom. Kevin's energy and enthusiasm were contagious. He jumped right in and began doing online training to prepare for his summer with us. When the externship began, he mapped existing monarch habitat and identified potential habitat for future conservation planning efforts. Kevin was a busy guy, as you can see, and even with summer heat and humidity, Kevin took the initiative to go above and beyond. He identified milkweed species and estimated the number of plants while walking every single park we have. It's no small feat. His intensity and dedication took the Monarch Habitat project further than we could have ever anticipated. Helping present his award this evening is Parks Manager Ron Ward. Please join me in honoring Kevin Atterberg with the 2018 Special Award for his volunteer conservation work.
Kevin didn't have a beer when we started the project. 4,000 acres. Let's scoot you in there real quick and get some pictures. Get you in the middle, Kevin. Awesome.
Do we need to squeeze in more?
Squeeze in.
Maybe just a little bit, move this way to the top. There we go.
Here she comes. You can be in there. He's too cute.
Hey, everybody's right here, okay? That's round A.
Cookies.
Perfect. All right.
Holt Stevens hosts volunteers year-round in the greenhouse. During his busiest season from March through May, he has volunteer shifts twice a day. He is organized, prepared, and committed to running a high-quality greenhouse and volunteer operation. He has taken an intense growing operation and made it as efficient and fun as possible, bringing hundreds of volunteers back year after year. Colt welcomes the diversity of volunteers, both young and old, community service, and corporate. He uses his knowledge of plants to educate transplanters, school children, youth, and adults. He works tirelessly to make sure our volunteers have an enjoyable experience and our city is beautiful year-round, from poinsettias to poppies. Colt could not be here with us this evening, but please join me in honoring him still as our 2018 Volunteer Supervisor of the Year. Playing youth sports isn't just about winning and losing. You learn so many life lessons, and Coach Amon Douglas, a youth basketball coach, demonstrates what a good role model and coach should be on and off the court. He works well with parents and kids. Coach Douglas shares words of encouragement to not only his team, but opposing teams as well. He's often heard complimenting players as they run down the court. Even referees comment on how much they appreciate his positive coaching style. Parents appreciate the team bond he creates with the children and request him each year. Coach Douglas teaches kids what it means to be a good teammate, friend, and citizen. Helping present his award this evening are Supervisor Tim Smith and Coordinator Jordan Hildreth. Please join me in honoring him for his outstanding coaching and service to the city as the 2018 Volunteer Coach of the Year.
You didn't figure it out. Amon is also the white fireman too, so.
You tell the difference in height.
Thank you very much.
This past year, the Des Moines Police Department has contributed throughout our community in many ways. They've led youth in parks and cemetery volunteer activities, donating over $3,400 in service. They teach the youth skills to be successful in their schools, their community, and their homes. They are role models that even have taken the time with their own families to adopt our cemetery and decorate our veterans' graves. The police department has built strong relationships in our neighborhoods. They've served at our Jingle Bell parties, Fall Family Fun Fest, and Free Flicks movie series. Reaching out and working in and alongside our community members is so important to them that this fall, some of them worked all-night shifts and then spent the entire day hauling mulch, planting trees, serving food to the community, painting, and building a new playground at Evelyn K. Davis Park. More specifically this year, we appreciate their leadership and volunteer support at 4 Mile Community Recreation Center and our Kids vs. Cops program. Once a month, the members of the department volunteer to play in various activities, including basketball, dodgeball, and floor hockey. We honor them tonight for their work fostering community relationships and their support of our department. Helping present their award is Recreation Superintendent John Hagner. Accepting on behalf of the Police Department is Chief Dana Winger and fellow officers. Please join me in honoring our police department as the 2018 Friend of the Year.
Get a wide angle
Also the
lens.
state's responsibility.
Be seen.
Go ahead, double it up, double it up.
Hey, I haven't seen this many places since my high school party.
Every round we need.
Scooch in.
Max, you gotta get your arm.
The urge to photobomb is never.
I just say, I just real quickly want to say, first of all, when some of these projects tip off, Ben calls and says, hey, we need people for this, we need people for that. And I always say yes, because I know the men and women in their blue uniforms will step up to the plate every single time. Because they know their mission is to serve this community and do whatever they can to support our other city departments. When those two missions collide, you get something like this. So thank you for the award, we really appreciate it, and we'll be there next year too.
Walking through Woodland Cemetery is like walking through Des Moines' rich history, from famous figures to soldiers, paupers to babies. The monuments are the responsibility of the family, but many have moved away or can no longer take care of them, and hundreds within the cemetery need critical attention. Many are leaning or they've fallen over. Thanks to Mike Simonson's leadership, donations are helping to lift, reset, and restore our community's history. Simonson helped establish a Woodland Cemetery Memorial Restoration pilot in 2017 with Buzz Brenton. They raised $25,000, matching it with city support and 400 hours of volunteer time to begin cleaning memorials and restoring the cemetery. In 2018, after the successful pilot, Simonson volunteered to continue fundraising, project planning, and overseeing restoration efforts. And in 2018, he got another $50,000 of public and private dollars, including his own, to raise and reset hundreds of stones. In addition to his fundraising dollars, his vision now includes almost 200 volunteers who've donated almost $20,000 in support, continuing to hand clean stones. We deeply appreciate his commitment to preserving the history of our community and the memories of those that helped build it. Helping present his award this evening is Ganesh Gampat, Cemetery Supervisor. Please join me in honoring Mike Simonson as a 2018 Friend of the Year.
Ben said I could make a couple of remarks, so I'm gonna have to take the opportunity. I'd like to thank my partner, Holly Hernandez, for having patience while I run around and do my special projects. I'd like to thank Buzz Brenton, who said, Mike, I want to take you on a walk through the cemetery and show you how we're not honoring our forefathers. And not due to any fault of the city, it's up to the families to take care of the stones, but as you know, this is such an old cemetery, and many of these families are no longer with us. So thank you to Buzz Brenton for walking through and inspiring me to do something about it. And then lastly, I would like to hear a round of applause for the Parks Board, for the park staff, and the City Council. City Council has hard decisions to make. We don't have excess funds. But what funds we do receive to keep Des Moines clean and green make a difference. So thank you very much.
Bridges of Iowa are building a better bridge to the future. This comprehensive substance abuse program invites people to a better life. They work in our community to create graduates that will live a life free from substance abuse and criminality, becoming contributing members of their families and society, and working to explore and develop their individual faith along their journey. This is the 6th year of our partnership with Bridges, and it continues to grow. This year, they've donated almost 600 hours of service, mulching playgrounds, helping with plantings, clearing trees, cleaning pots, working in our rose garden, and more. By volunteering, their clients build leadership skills and develop a sense of work ethic and community. Even when funding was tight and it was difficult to find a supervisor to bring the volunteers, they had a volunteer of their own step up to bring the men out. In the face of adversity, Bridges of Iowa has risen to the commitment. They are unable to be here this evening, but please join me in honoring them still tonight as the 2018 Volunteer Group of the Year. Knapp Properties has been a community leader for decades. They stepped forward in 2018, donating almost $10,000 in volunteer time and $75,000 for a new playground to improve Evelyn K. Davis Park. Knapp Properties' history with the park began years before when Bill Knapp helped his longtime friend, Evelyn K. Davis, an early childhood educator and advocate for the poor, help transform the property into a city park. He has generously supported park programming and amenities over the years, helping the vision for the park and the neighborhood become a reality. Programs have included daily lunch and snacks, as well as sports and special events for kids and their families. In October, Knapp Properties volunteers stepped up to transform the park. They even pulled in many of their business partners and vendors too, resulting in numerous donations. They donated hours cleaning the site, painting the shelter and gates, planting trees, operating equipment, organizing recreational family activities, building the playground, and placing thousands of cubic yards of donated playground mulch. All of these park improvements happened thanks to the hard work of the Knapp Properties volunteers. We cannot say it enough how much we appreciate their effort to make our parks and our community safe, fun, and welcoming. Helping present their award this evening is manager Jenny Richmond. Accepting the award on behalf of Knapp Properties this evening are Mary Schaefer, Jake Lundgren, Chris Costa, and Jerry Nugent. Join me in honoring Knapp Properties as the 2018 Corporate Volunteer Group of the Year.
Oh, you were blocking me.
Thank you, guys.
A Des Moines native, Archie Cook has volunteered with Woodland Cemetery Tours for more than 20 years. The Grandview University History and Education graduate shadowed longtime volunteer guide Gerald LeBlanc until taking over the guided walks in 2013. Cook leads 2.5-hour walking tours from April to October, including coordinating reservations this year for 350 participants. The tours dive into the city's past and highlight achievements of men and women that shaped our community. They promote civic pride through the stories of who our parks, our streets, and our buildings are named after, including the remarkable military sacrifices that so many in our community were willing to make. The interactive tours are free, but attendees have donated more than $4,000 over the past several years, designated for the Woodland Cemetery restoration efforts. Cook also served on our Cemetery Citizen Advisory Committee, attending monthly meetings, providing input and historical perspective from the community. He also explores historical documents and cemetery archives to assist families with genealogy research. Somehow, he still finds the time to substitute teach and spend time with his wife of 40 years, his grown children, and 3 grandchildren. He gives his valuable time and knowledge without any expectations from us and cares deeply for the preservation of our cemeteries. Helping present his award this evening is Cemetery Supervisor Ganesh Gampat. Please join me as we honor Archie Cook as our 2018 Volunteer of the Year.
I would like to take just a moment to mark the passing of Gerald LeBlanc. We lost Gerald last week. He was a dear friend, a mentor, and he was the greatest ambassador of our parks, our cemeteries, and the city itself. So I'd just like to mark his passing.
Thank you, Archie. At 93 years of age, Mary P. Smith has continually shown herself to be a great asset to the city of Des Moines, and specifically the Parks and Recreation Department. Mary's been volunteering at the greenhouse for over a decade. She has donated nearly 800 hours valued at more than $19,000. Each day she arrives with a smile on her face and a sense of dedication and purpose to make our community better. Mary has always performed high-quality work and encourages others to do the same. She's helped recruit greenhouse volunteers through the years, and she has been a spokesperson to the media sharing the greenhouse volunteer story. She inspires staff and other volunteers through her tireless dedication and service. Mary's passion reaches beyond the walls of the city greenhouse. She's been an active master gardener and neighborhood volunteer, planting and maintaining flower beds throughout our city. We appreciate her enthusiasm, educating the community about Des Moines Parks and Recreation, and her years of service beautifying our city. Please join me in honoring Mary P. Smith as our 2018 Volunteer Lifetime Achievement Award winner.
If I tried to keep up with her, I'd have more full buses.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Chair Davis, members of the Park and Recreation Board, thank you for your continued support of our volunteer program. Each year we have so much to celebrate, but tonight especially, we thank all of our award winners and all of our volunteers that have made this past decade a success. I will leave you all with this video as we celebrate and say thank you to the more than 30,000 volunteers that donated over $5.2 million in service this past decade.
It takes a team of volunteers to help the city maintain its beauty. So the city cannot do this alone, and they truly do rely on volunteers to come out and help them.
Well, I think it's important to, give back to your community. we all live in Des Moines, we all work in Des Moines, and it's time to, give a little bit of our time and effort here today, and it feels good.
Oh, it's very rewarding when you can take a place like this that's so old and actually make it look nice again.
It's always nice to see a big group of individuals coming together for the big cause, and we decided that it would be a good opportunity for us to do some team building and come out and help. So I think we're doing a really good job.
I really enjoy it. Being around other people, and I love it.
Get a group of people like this, makes it more enjoyable, goes faster.
The bigger process is the people that put it together, the planning and organizing to make it so that when the volunteers show up, that the actual work process is fairly simplified and easy.
think volunteering is really good. I mean, our kids in high school, they're doing, silver cord projects so that they can kind of get out and see how they can help their community and how the community around them is. So I think it's just a good opportunity for individuals, whether it's my neighbor or my church member or somebody who needs help. I'd love to know so that, that there's an opportunity for us to help. There's a lot of projects that need this type of attention, and it's just good that right now we are able to give this project the attention that it needs.
Don't always have to be social in order to volunteer. I know a lot of people shy away from volunteering because they're not social people. There are tons of opportunities out there for you. There's social media that you can check out. There's the Des Moines Park Recreation website that also contains all of the volunteer opportunities within the city. So there's a lot of opportunities to go for. It's just finding your passion for it and determining what it's going to take for you to volunteer.
If all the award winners could come up and we could get a group photo before you leave.
Before you do, we thank everybody but one person. I want to thank Callie. I hired Callie 10 years ago. There was no volunteer program here. And in those first 5 years, we watched the department go from 147 men and women to 59. And we built sculpture parks, sports complexes, miles of trails, dog parks. The list goes on and on. We built more because of the appetite of the community. We have less people to take care of that park system. And without the volunteer system, you can see what we're having today. So I think she deserves a nice round of applause. Just the award winner from the council. And you might find yourself on social media. Just the award winners and their awards. You come on up. Council members, come on up.
You okay?
Yeah.
How are you?
Have a great day. Squeeze you in a little bit, maybe have some of the taller folks in the back. A little bit. That's your mom. All right, everybody look at Jen. Say, Parks rocks. Thank you, everybody.
We're going to take a 2-minute break unless you want to stay and listen to the rules for the skate park. Also, you know what? I'd like to have you guys give a big hand to our council people that showed up and did a great job. And you know what? This volunteer park board is the greatest board ever. Stand up, guys. Stand up. Stand up. Here you go. Thank you, thank you. See you in 2 minutes.
Intermission.
How's the cookies, Bill?
Jerry, we're going over the skate park rules. I'm sure you want to stay. Oh, okay. As a big user, yeah. back from intermission. Let's continue. One thing we did not do, we didn't approve the minutes from the November 27th. My gosh, has it been that long? That's almost 2 months.
So move.
Approval. Okay, so move.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
It passes. Now we're going to go to board action. Ben?
Thank you. We have learned, we're still working on chapter 74, so although this is listed as board action, it needs to be listed as board action twice. So your first is tonight. It'll be brought back to you again in February. First up is Laura Briggs, followed by Tim Smith to talk to you about the aquatic season.
Linda, I want to thank you for staying. I knew you were very interested in this, so I want to thank you.
Chair Davis and members of the Park and Recreation Board, I am Laura Briggs, Parks and Recreation Supervisor. Tonight, Tim Smith and I will be sharing the proposed 2019 aquatics operating schedule. There are various types of facilities, including pools and aquatic centers, which is defined by significant water depth, zero depth entry, multiple areas of activity. We also have wading pools, which is a small pool with standing water and no spray features. We also have splash pools, which is a splash pad with standing water and spray features, and spray grounds, which is a splash pad with spray features without standing water. The staff would like to propose that the pool season will open Saturday, June 1st and run through Sunday, August 18th, and the hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday, 1 to 6:30, and Sunday, 1 to 5. Each year, one of the 3 aquatic centers is designated to open Memorial Day weekend and one to operate Labor Day weekend. Staff proposes that this year, Memorial Day, Northwest Family Aquatic Center will be open May 25th through the 27th, and Teach Out Family Aquatic Center will be open August 24th and 25th, along with Labor Day weekend of August 31st, September 1st, and 2nd. The 3-year rotation is in place with Nahas Family Aquatic Center, allowing equal access to various sections of the city, and all facilities in the rotation are ADA accessible. Now here's Tim Smith, who will continue to share the proposed 2019 schedule.
Chair Davis and members of the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board, I'm Tim Smith, Park and Recreation Supervisor. I'm here to talk to you about the proposed dates of the 2019 wading pool season. Wading pools are located in 8 parks throughout the city and are a free and convenient way to stay cool during the summer months. The staff is proposing that wading pools open on June 3rd and close August 7th, the day before the state fair begins. We also propose that 7 of the 8 pools operate Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that Jordan Pool operate noon to 6 on Wednesdays and 10 to 4 on the remaining weekdays. Splash pools are one of our department's most popular facilities, with tens of thousands attending each summer. Children of all ages love the splash pool's combination of spray features and standing water. Staff is proposing that the 4 splash pools open on Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, May 25th, and that Ashby and Union splash pools remain open through August 21st, while Crevaro and Martin Luther King remain open through September 8th. We also propose that the splash pools operate 10 to 7 Monday through Friday and weekends from noon to 6. In recent years, the city has increased the number of spray grounds in the parks. The most recent spray ground added was Fairmont, which opened last spring. Sheridan and Tower Park are next to add spray grounds, on track to open in late spring or early summer. These 2 will bring the total number of spray grounds to 13. Staff is proposing that spray grounds operate from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. May 1st through September 30th, depending on the weather. No matter the time of day, the spray grounds are always filled with happy kids. Before concluding, I'd like to thank the Friends of Des Moines Parks for their continued support of our aquatics program. We are very grateful for the 2018 donation in the amount of $22,170. This year's funds will once again be used to provide scholarships for swim lessons. From aquatic centers to spray grounds, Des Moines offers a wide variety of options that help ensure the aquatic needs of our residents are met. This concludes our presentation. I'd like to thank Laura for joining me tonight, and now we can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Tim, just to be clear now, the wading pools and the splash pad, or splash pools, they have an on-site person, their staff, right? Is that correct?
That's right, while the spray grounds don't.
And then the spray grounds don't, but the spray grounds are, you push a button and the water goes for a period of time, 3-4 minutes. Is that correct? Something like that? Okay.
Yep.
Anything else on Tim on this?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, any discussion regarding this? Any motion on this?
So moved.
Been moved, do we have a second?
Second.
Hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Okay, we'll go to Board Action C, and the Board Action C is regarding our subcommittees, which are at the bottom of your page. And we have term limits as far as how long we serve on these individual subcommittees. So going through, we will take, if you'll look down to the bottom, we'll start with the Urban Conservation Committee. Heather Anderson has asked to leave because it conflicts with her school board assignment. She's also a member of the school board. That's why she isn't here tonight. So Vicky Facto, and so listen, this is all going to intertwine. So Vicky Facto has agreed to serve on the Urban Conservation Committee because she is terming out on the trails and greenways. So we'll take these individually. So the Urban Conservation Committee recommendation with your approval would be Andrea and Vicky moving forward. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Then we go to Citizens Golf Committee. Sam Pugh, who is not here tonight. You look at me with, am I screwing up? Okay. Sam Pugh, who is not here tonight, is terming out on the Golf Committee. And so Bill Nassif still is on the committee right now. And Steve Vilmain, if you remember, he was with the Citizen Group part of that committee, but he has termed out of that. So we are recommending to appoint him as the other board member on the Citizen Golf Committee. He has agreed to, and by the way, he's not here tonight. He had his hip replacement, and he said he didn't want to chance it. I don't know why. I don't understand that. But all right, so that would be Bill Nassif and Stephen Vilmain. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next one is the Cemetery Advisory Committee, and Joel, you're doing a great job, and we've decided to expand yours term to the next 15 years. You're doing a great job. He's already part of that, so that doesn't require a motion. We have one representative. Then we come to Trails and Greenway, and so you have to talk to several people because it requires an element of time on these subcommittees. And so right now we have Mr. Ballard and Sarah Lohmeyer that have agreed to serve as new people and new terms on that committee because Vicky has termed out and Heather Anderson is leaving because of the school board commitment. So that recommendation would be Jim Ballard and Sarah Lohmeyer.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was very good. It's all approved. Okay, ready to go receive and file.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your commitments to be on subcommittees as well. It's not just a simple assignment of being on this board. You all help out a lot in many different ways, and we appreciate it. Next up, Reno Dog Park and Lee Wheelock. I do want to point out that, again, Councilmember Westergaard is here. She's had great interest in this and has been very helpful working with our neighborhood associations. There's many that kind of converge, almost use that, about 5 to 6 that come to that area that use that park beyond just our regional users. So she's here to listen to that, and thank you for your work to date on helping us find the new location.
Chair Davis, members of the board, Lee Wheelock, Park Planner. Tonight's presentation is the culmination of a 6-month public process to improve Reno Memorial Dog Park. This process began in July of 2018, just after the flood of that year destroyed the former Reno Memorial Dog Park. The process has included an assessment of the damages to the park due to the flood, 2 public meetings to gain insight into the needs of the dog park users, and to measure the public's opinion on relocating the dog park. With the information gathered from the public, staff has generated a plan for the future of the Reno Memorial Dog Park. And I'm here tonight to share that plan with you, but before I do, I want to quickly take you through the process that led us to this point.
Just a reminder before he takes you through the process, this is not a process that we'll bring back to you unless you ask us to. This doesn't require board action, so we want to ask you what you think of this, and if you have no problems, it will just stay as a receive and file, and the process will continue.
The current Reno Memorial Dog Park is located at the corner of East Douglas Avenue and Hubble Avenue, just west of the QT and across the street from Sargent Park. In early July of 2018, floodwaters from 4 Mile Creek severely damaged the dog park, knocking down fencing and depositing debris across the park. Just after the flood, in July, construction began on the road that now connects East Douglas and Hubble Avenue. As part of this construction project, the east third of the dog park has been lost to the new road. This map shows the original extents of the dog park in yellow and the reduced dog park boundary in dashed red line. As you can see, the dog park was 3.7 acres and would be reduced to 2.3 acres, a loss of 1.4 acres due to the new road alignment outlined in blue. After the flood and the road construction, park staff looked into relocating the dog park, and upon a quick search of the surrounding area, an alternate site with potential presented itself. In September of last year, during the first 2 public meetings, the idea of a new location for the dog park was presented to a crowd of 31, mostly dog park users. The option to relocate was discussed, and the former Country Estates Village mobile home park, located at 3325 Hubble Avenue, was selected as the future location for the dog park. This new site is part of a larger land buyout as part of flood damage mitigation. The public land is shown here in green. The new site, shown in orange, has an existing parking lot, a paved road, and is directly adjacent to the Gailey-Wilson Trail. At the second public meeting held on December 6th, the night of the Iowa State basketball game, a similar crowd suggested the new amenities for the relocated dog park and then ranked them in order of importance. As you can see from this list, access to water on site was highly ranked, as was seating and hard surface trail. With the prioritized list in mind, this concept plan for the newly relocated dog park was generated. This plan includes 3.7 acres of fenced dog area, the exact amount of fenced area the original Reno Dog Park had when it was open. Some of the original dog park fence that was not damaged in the flood will be reused at this location. This plan improves the existing parking lot of 21 spaces. The benefit of this parking arrangement over the old Reno site is that this parking lot is on the same side of the road as the dog park, so no more crossing Douglas from the Sargent Park parking lot to the dog park. New shade trees will be planted where the former mobile home park building was located, and the rest of the trees on site will be cleaned up and the dead wood on site will be removed. The dog park will have a similar entrance area as the old Reno Dog Park had. A closer look at the entrance shows that the existing fence has been moved back off of the edge of the parking lot to give some space, and the gated entrance is the same as the old Reno Dog Park had. The dog waste tank will be relocated to the new site and will function just as it did on the old site. To meet the top item on the prioritized list that was generated at the public meeting, a drinking fountain has been added at this new site with a dog waterer included. This was one item that was highly requested at the old site but never realized at that location. Seating was also a top-rated item on the list. We are still working through the estimate for the project and are trying to include a small shelter if the funding allows. Along with the dog park relocation project, a new paved neighborhood trail connection is being looked at. This connection would allow greater access for the Sheridan Gardens neighborhood to the Gailey Wilson Trail and the newly relocated dog park. At this point, our next steps include going out for bid in February, beginning construction in July, and tentatively opening the dog park in July. I would like to thank John Hegner and other members of Park and Recreation staff for their assistance in this process. That concludes the presentation on the design for the future park. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Do you mind if I ask Councilperson Westgard if she any comments? Councilperson, would you come up? Do you have any comments from the neighborhood or regarding Matt?
We do have a member of the neighborhood that's in attendance tonight. They thank you and I thank you for all the work, and we're just happy that we have a new dog park that's better and it's been improved, and we thank you for that. We're looking forward to it. The meetings were well attended and people are excited about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your hard work, and John, thank you for your involvement also. Any other questions? Quiet crowd tonight.
I know.
Cookies haven't kicked in yet.
Yeah. Motion to receive?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Okay, item 2 would be the skate park rules, and this is in regard to, Matt, is this in regard to the new skate park, or is this going to retrofit the one over to 4 Mile also?
This will be specifically addressing the new facility.
Okay.
Chair Davis, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Matt Kalsevich, Recreation Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you these proposed rules for the upcoming new Lordson Skate Park. We went through what I would call a very detailed process to come to this point to present these rules to you this evening. We started with some research by our Park and Recreation staff, looking at things on a local, regional, and national level in terms of rules and function of skate facilities around the country. We also involved several other city departments, including Des Moines Police, our city legal office, city risk management, additional members of the Park and Recreation team to come up with what we're sharing with you here tonight. As it's highlighted in the communication, this will be, as with many of our rules, especially when we initially introduce them, an assessment of how these function. I know our team is feeling very good and very confident about how these will help us facilitate programming or even just daily drop-in use at the facility. But as with any project of this magnitude, it will take a special assessment when things actually exist to ensure that everything we have here is right and best. And with that, I'd be happy to try and address any specific concerns you have about the rules that we presented to you.
There's a question about the protective equipment, like helmets being recommended as opposed to mandatory. Is that feedback from the skateboard community, or what? Why? I don't know. My knee jerk is people should have helmets on when they do that stuff.
Great question. It's absolutely part of our process that brought us to the point of actually using the word recommended. And it was led by the skate park population. And certainly want to mention the fact that we integrated them into our process as well. Many of the members of the Lordson Skate Park group were consulted, and we had some point people that were part of our assessment and offered us some great insight in terms of the skating population and the way they would read and interpret and use some of these rules during the function of the facility. Also from a legal standpoint, I certainly won't overstep my bounds with Ann here to offer her insight about why we landed on what we did, and I'd be happy to defer to you, Ann, if you have anything else to add there. But definitely driven by our skate population and our advisor group, feeling like terms stronger than this would be a deterrent almost from the use of the facility that we're hoping to generate.
I did have a question with interacting with people in the skateboarding community. Some have expressed concern with that skateboarding, the part of skateboarding is a high-risk sport. Not necessarily that, but the accident, injury, or death. I think it was more of the death that was concerning to them. And they just, some of the skateboarding members sent me some basic information on kind of like the Tony Hawk model that this is kind of modeled off of other cities. They don't have that language. Is that something that we need? Is that injury or death? Is that something that is negotiable on the legal side? Or,
you know, it's a recommendation, but it's a policy decision whether or not you want to, you know, kind of weigh the scaring people versus making them aware that this is considered a higher risk activity, of course, as compared to, you know, walking through the park with your dog kind of thing.
So to your point about the sign itself, certainly we're accentuating and highlight some things that are directly extracted from the rules, what will be part of the code. But we've emphasized some things there that are certainly part about, to Ann's point, educating the entire community about what could be a potential challenge of engaging in the facility. There'll be certainly user groups that have a high comfort level, and there'll be others that will want to recognize this as a unique opportunity and to be more cautious. But Ann obviously
That's
highlighted
similar
that.
to your sledding rules that we had. Did you have a chance to look at that?
Sledding at the golf courses, you mean,
Yeah, I
or
think
in?
What we start off with is the state gives immunity to certain things that municipalities do through recreation. And our base goal is to make sure we preserve that immunity. Without the immunity, there is no skate park. So I always tell a story like this. There's the rules that get codified through municipal code process, which it has the legalese to it. And then there's how you communicate those rules. So what you're asking, I think, is a perfectly fair question. It's a policy decision. I don't see where that would take away our immunity by taking the word death from there.
No, that's correct. The immunity under the Iowa code comes from the design and the construction of it being within the then current standards. That's where the immunity under the code comes from. So the warning on the sign is just to put us in a position of really deciding how we want to sort of inform the public that this is a different situation if they're new at it, for instance.
You tell us what you think, and
Yeah.
that's right in your purview.
There's no legal requirement that you tell
Okay.
people a death is possible.
I didn't go to law school, so I can't. I will.
rely by
You are the
Ann a lot,
expert.
so.
Yes, Ann is the expert on that. Just some conversations with people who were kind of involved in this. At least the skating portion of it, maybe not necessarily the fundraiser. They did express concern about that part of the language, just that little part. And so I was wondering if we would be able to just remove that. Death would probably be the key word, if that was something that we were able to do.
Their concern is that will scare people, or what?
I don't think this is not a new kind of concept. It is new to Des Moines, but kind of the model that it's based on, it is kind of like a hindrance to get involved. At least that's how they feel. Not sure if people are aware who Tony Hawk is, but professional skateboarder. Okay, so these are the skateboarding folks, and they see that as not welcoming. So I think it's just that word. Everything else is perfect, but I think the death was something that was a drawback to them as getting people to participate in it.
Tell them to wear their helmets.
We don't tell people.
Just to remind you, it's a unsupervised facility, at least when it opens. So these rules, and I'm not making the case for or against the word death, are basically enforced by the users, hopefully. And so the rules are there to make sure we, again, preserve immunity. We stated the rules, we told everybody what we expect to be the use of this facility. Again, I'm open.
I don't have a strong preference, but I'd say if you do decide to take out death and maybe say serious injury instead of injury.
Well, I guess I'd be curious if there have people that have died at skate
skateboarding. I mean, I can't imagine there haven't been. You know, I mean, certainly, if you're not wearing a helmet, the risk of a head injury has got to be pretty high. I mean, I would hate to see that language go, frankly. I mean, if somebody told me that nobody's ever died at a skate park, I think I'd be, you know, probably more, I guess, receptive. But I mean, I can't imagine if there isn't a risk of death, and I don't view it as, frankly, unwelcoming. But
in your research, how frequently are skate parks requiring helmets?
It's divided. It's a broad scope. Again, that's why we wanted to start the way we did on really searching far and wide. We worked, again, with the group that we did, both internally and externally, to really try and put together, at least in terms of our recommendation to you, what we thought met our specific need. We did look at what was presented by the Tony Hawk Foundation and other skate entities to contribute on top of what other municipalities were already using. So it's a percentage exists in certain places around the country. Nothing was a consensus, and it was very specific. Some designs, I think, going through our process, I could have seen municipalities decide that certain verbiage or certain regulations were right for them and the way their facility existed. To Ben's point, this is an unsupervised facility. There were a lot of rule examples that were supervised facilities. So it was hard to draw a direct parallel, at least in terms of our jumping off point.
I'd also say this. It's something we say often internally is we just don't know what we don't know yet. Mm-hmm. So I'd say the best foot forward would be to implement some rules, and then as we have the chance every fall to come back to you with fee and rule changes. And if you hear those things too, tell us, because we know that this is going to be, as designed right now, the largest skate park in the United States. I really believe that foot traffic won't be a problem at first. I think nobody will be scared to use this place. So I think that what we have today is a good starting block. And if you want to change them, again, you're not going to offend me. I do believe, though, we won't have any problem having people use the facility.
If we did require helmets, would it require then that it be a supervised facility?
It would probably require at least random checks. Otherwise, how do you enforce it? That'd be the issue.
Right, and that's a manpower issue.
That would be a manpower issue.
So is that a problem?
Yes, we today have 0 staff, or our budget includes 0 staff. Now, we do have a commitment from the city manager that said, let's look at this facility after it's had 1 full year of use. And there's different ideas in the hopper to discuss, but at this point, 0 staff.
How many other skate parks are there in the city?
That the city manages?
Yes.
Just one at 4 Mile Community
4
Center.
Mile. How different are these rules compared to the 4 Mile?
I'll defer to Matt. He did most of the research. I think they're pretty similar.
Pretty similar?
They are close. Yeah, there are some nuanced differences. Certainly, we've been functioning on a different level of volume than we anticipate at this new facility. Certainly, the way that one is positioned, just from a location standpoint, we think this facility will have a tremendously higher use.
When you compare our facilities to West Des Moines or Windsor Heights, are our rules more strict or less strict than other skate parks in the Metroplex?
I think our starting place here has a tighter regulation than some of those other facilities. But again, to Ben's point, we don't know what we know. I think we'd err on the side of caution in terms of just regulating things in a way that if we were to lessen them down the road, seeing the function dictate that that was the right call, it would be easier than to ratchet something up to the point of trying to enforce it when we don't have that capability, again, to Ben's point about our manpower.
It's hard to enforce skateboarders too.
Yeah.
They're actually a really decent group to work with at 4 Mile. Our experience has been really positive there. They clean up, they do side things for us, they self-regulate. The biggest problem we have is they want to be out there pushing the snow off the thing when they can use it during the wintertime. Again, my best recommendation for you to consider would be to let it run and come back to you in a year and say, hey, we've learned some lessons, because we will undoubtedly learn some lessons managing a national facility like this. It's going to bring in a lot of things. And I do like the process. I do want to give Matt and his team credit. They literally talked to as many people, including skate park donor groups, and that was probably the hardest group because they were so impassioned by making this thing be the most welcoming facility, and they should be. They really should be. And so they were in the details with us, and I can't thank them enough, but city legal, which is different than city risk management. and the police department. And so we try to make every group feel a little bit happy, but come together with one set of rules that we could all live with. And I think this is where we're at right now. But you tell us. You're not going to offend me.
I think the rules look fine to me. I agree that when we get a chance to look at them in a year, we'll know whether or not. I also agree that that death does kind of jar you a little bit, but I also wonder how many people will really read the sign. Kind of to what you just said, Ben, in terms of, this might be separate, I know it's separate from the rules, looking at when a national group comes in, do they rent this park just like they would rent any other park, and do they follow kind of all of the same regulations?
Yeah, though we are actually having those discussions behind the scenes. In fact, we're going to test it with our first event at 4 Mile, because there's certain thresholds they have to meet for liability, as you might imagine, and they're going to work with us and do rentals to bring in big national events. And we'll probably, not probably, we will partner with Catch Des Moines at a certain level. So we've had those conversations too. I just kind of need to see what this is going to bring. And you know, the biggest thing we can't tell you is numbers of people that come. That's what insurance is based off of. At this level, you add this. At this level, you add that. At alcohol, you add this. At sponsors that have this kind of signage out there, you add these things. So we're going to kind of fumble our way through some of those things, but I feel confident we know how to do it. I told the skate park group this. We've hosted the largest and top event you could host at county soccer. It's my direct parallel to this is if we can host the national championships of soccer and rugby, we'll be able to pull this off too. There's a new learning curve for us to figure out.
I have 2 questions regarding your bullet points that you sent out.
Yes.
To Cindy's comment about required, if you go down, I don't know if you all have this sheet regarding the bullet points, but down toward the end, the second to the last bullet point that says shirt and shoes are required.
On the front,
I wonder
yes.
if we should make that then shirt and shoes are recommended. Would that be, because required makes an enforcement thing, and you can address this. And then the last bullet point, children under the age of 6 years old are not allowed. How did we come up with that age number? Because I think that might be a concern with some parents that bring, you know, we have some pretty advanced 5 and 6 year olds or whatever in today's world. So I guess I want to throw this back to either Matt or Ann.
I can start with the.
I'll take the shirt. I think we want the shirts required. It can
Okay.
start off with a potential of intimidation sometimes when some people show up and they're trying to show off some things, and we don't want that to be an issue. Shoes are almost, you have to have in the skateboard, if you know what I mean. If you watch the sport, I don't know, you can skate without shoes. That'd be my first comment. And then 6, that came from their recommendations looking at other cities.
It was somewhat of the highest percentage, again, collecting information of where that threshold landed for us. There was everything from nothing listed up to about 10, but that 6 number stuck out on more of the examples we researched than any, as again, a place that was good for us to maybe assess from the beginning, and that could be moved up or down depending on, again, the volume of use and what other experiences we have in a first full cycle of assessment.
And actually think that the age, I sort of
can't-
started that ball rolling.
And they might not be able to hear you.
Oh, the age, looking at an age threshold was my recommendation, just because you're gonna have a mix, just because of the activity, you'll have a mix of people using it that may be certain, you need a certain level of competence to be able to be safe while you're on the facility, even if you're there skating one at a time.
Again, an example of just even the assessment process being a broad spectrum of research and assessment. We didn't necessarily have an age on there initially. That was the user group's interest, again, on having as much inclusion and opportunity to interact with the facility as possible, and bringing her insight to the table allowed us to land on, at least from a number standpoint, what we saw as, again, the greatest representation across the sample that we collected.
I don't know if anyone else feels like I do, but I do regard it as a very dangerous thing to do for kids. And I do think helmets should be required.
And then the room became silent.
I'm alone.
Come on, Matt.
well.
I mean,
That-
processes, so this receiving file, but it's not coming back to us?
This will come back to you.
It will.
This will come back to
Yes.
you next month, and then it will go to city council for up to 3 readings, I think. Is that correct, if the rules in?
One reading.
One reading.
One reading for the
Okay.
rules,
One reading for the rules,
or one council action,
one
actually.
council action for the rule, okay.
So I think the weather probably kept some of the advocates from coming out here and speaking on behalf of why they support the rules that we have. Is there something that we can do? I don't know. I know not tabling it, or is there, what are our options for the
So
next
they come back
meeting?
next month no matter what.
Okay.
So they can come to the next meeting too. And the reason we started now is, quite frankly, we just get busy in the summertime.
Right.
And this facility is anticipated to open in August. If everything goes as planned, you know how construction goes, we wouldn't have time to work on it now, so we wanted to bring it, and be ahead of the curve. That way, everything's ready to go and cut the ribbon and let's open this facility. So we have another month. That's why we do this.
So I guess I'd suggest this. I'd like a little more on the nuances of why recommended versus required versus prohibited. And maybe our questions would be satisfied with more information. I don't know, some of the advocates from the skateboard community are gonna maybe be at the next meeting, that maybe we
Well,
should.
tonight, we're voting on receive and file,
Right.
and then we can always, tweak in that time period.
Right.
Is that correct? Yes.
You can tweak it again, and you can say, hey, let's bring it back in March.
February, right?
Well, I'd say you can do February and March.
Oh, okay.
If
If the group
dialogue
shows
was
up,
such.
here's what we've been told, so I don't know that, sometimes staff gets told a different story. We met with them a couple weeks ago on a Friday, and they told us everything looks great. That's what we were told. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on your agenda from my office. That's why you've ever saw what we've done. We don't bring you anything we don't feel it's already slam dunk, by design, whenever we can. So there's a disconnect somewhere then, potentially, if there's a couple of words that are not changing. Let's figure it out, let's bring it back to you.
So were any of the things that have been discussed here tonight even approached at that meeting then?
The one I remember talking to him about was with the death issue, and that's there just to grab your attention enough to say, this is a serious potential. We want you to take this seriously and look at these rules. That's just a headline grab, if you will. That's what it's for. If
Would
you haven't
use
liked-
of like the word fatal or life-threatening, would that,
I think what they had said was skateboarding is a high risk sport, and then they wanted to see this is an unsupervised facility. I think it was just kind of taking out that middle. But they're not here, so
I think when we bring it to this board, and the staff did a great job, but, I do appreciate that the staff scrutiny on this, because it's going to, your statement on the deaf thing. Interestingly, I had an email in the neighborhood where a person sent me an email, and they're very concerned because they want to change the language on dead-end streets. I mean, so language is a very important thing today with a lot of people. It really is. So it's not falling on deaf ears. But initially, I feel that they've done a very good job. And if we receive and file this, I mean, obviously, there's little tweak points that each one of us might have. But I think out of the gate, Ben, you had said earlier that, you thought it would be a slam dunk. But out of the gate, I think it is a slam dunk. They've done great. You had to encounter 500 different things, and I'm sure you've met with 500 different people and stuff. So.
Well, I'll add a few other things here. Going back to Joel's comment, some of the design of this is very much with any user group, they have a specific vision of trying to have it be something that they're able to use the maximum amount of time. But the lens we like to look at things through is in terms of safety, maintenance, some of those things. So some of the rule verbiage, at least in regards to the code, really highlights that we're trying to preserve things for both them and the facility itself. To emphasize some time frame things, in a best case scenario, and there's others who can probably reference this a little better than me, the function of the skate park will start sometime in 2019. Again, looking outside today, weather can affect things very quickly. So we'll see a portion of the year have function. How much we'll be able to assess in that time, I'm not sure. Again, we'd like to give it a full cycle, seeing all of the seasons and the way that the traffic patterns develop before we make any other significant changes past the acceptance of these. But going back to, again, some of the specific things that were cited here, I can tell you that the staff ran the gamut as far as what was maybe the right thing to present to you. And it is very much one of those things where one aspect of the rules is dominated by one section or one department over another, and it's a give and take in terms of balancing things in the way that we've shared with you tonight. But certainly from a staff standpoint, and as Ben emphasized and Ann emphasized, we're willing to do whatever we need to do to bring clarity to anything that's still not quite in the right position.
I think we can do what the board's asked us to do so far. The one clarification that I think will find us at a spot where we won't be able to make any recommendation or make a change would be with the skate park users on Cindy's comment. I'm not saying it's wrong. For them, required equipment was a deal breaker for them.
Okay.
And recommended was fine. So that's the only one I can't bring you back without good direction tonight. If you gotta tell me which way you want to go on that one.
I wonder how it could be a deal breaker.
To them, it's a deal breaker
I
because
mean, if they love skateboarding,
Yes,
you
no,
know,
I'm
they're
with
going
you.
to skate, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whether they have, you know,
I get it.
no helmet or not.
I just make this comment. I mean, some board members are expressing some hesitation about not requiring helmets. That if when it comes to board action, and it's still the same to just recommend but not require helmets, I just think somebody should be making a more compelling case about it than just, you know, we really thought this through. We talked to a lot of people, and we think this is the best response. You know, maybe a couple of those guys need to show up, say, look, hey, board's hesitant about proving it without helmets. You guys don't want to help helmets. We need to be able to come make a case about it.
Also-
we did invite them to, but I know the weather could be an issue. But
Yeah, so also it might be more difficult to impose a stricter rule later than start out that way and you know, see how it goes. I think it would be hard to go the other way with rules. It's better to start out pretty firm, and this is the expectation. We want you to be safe. We want everybody to be safe who's
You've
out
seen
there.
our first draft. Our first draft was a lot different than this.
Vicki, any comments? We haven't heard anything from you, Vic.
No, I guess I think the input's been there, but I don't feel like I know statistically how injuries occur on skateboarders, or I see them all over downtown Des Moines, and I don't see them with helmets or pads or anything on, and so I just don't know statistically how dangerous it actually is, so.
That's a great point. In fact, I would say that looking at our board, probably none of us are.
Careful, George.
I know. None of us are in the know more than, say, your staff and the people that you have talked with. Personally, I'm ticked off that I have to wear a shirt if I'm going to skateboard.
Let me tell you that our best expert was actually the designer in California skate parks. I tell the story like this, and I'll be brief, is cities are always subject to allow rules when you go to build something. But if we were not subject to rules, and you said, Ben, money's not an object, and you go pick the best skate park designer, we would have picked California skate parks. It doesn't always happen like that when you build things for city government. So we said to them, they built skate parks all over the world, and they're building the first ever Olympic course, by the way, for the next Olympics. So they are the top of the top, in my opinion. We asked them to look at these rules. They said they gave us good feedback. They made some changes for us, said, here's some things we see, and looked at our last draft and said, that's a good set of rules. After that, I don't know who else we would talk to have a higher level of expert for you. Yeah. Everything else will be just based on statistics that are maybe good or there may be bad statistics. Maybe they're East Coast versus, Midwest statistics. I couldn't tell you. I can't find a
I'm curious about lighting. The skateboard's gonna be open before light and after dark, so I'm assuming it's got really good lighting.
Yeah, Musco is our sports lighter, and they'll be the sports lighting company that's going to help with this. So,
and are we going to periodically inspect the lighting and stuff then? Is that kind of built into this whole thing?
They'll be just like all the other parks. There'll be a standard, and then we'll have to make sure that we keep up with that work order. Just like Gray's Lake, I'd say that's a very good comparable. When lights are down the trail, we fix them as fast as we know about them.
So the lights go out at 10 o'clock or
Yeah, there'll be timers on those, so we can set it to turn off at a certain point.
Yeah, very similar to our sports complexes, and there'll be requirements in terms of the volume of lighting that will illuminate the facility as we maintain in those places where we conduct certain activities like baseball and softball, so all of those regulations will be met.
Are there going to be the buttons you can push in an emergency like around Gray's Lake?
No, those are all been removed.
They have?
Yeah, they were moved about 4 years ago because
Oh.
all the floods took their toll on the wiring.
Oh.
And what we found out is pretty much everybody has cell phones anymore.
Oh, okay.
But, yep.
Kim, Cindy, are you comfortable with receive and file?
I am.
Okay. Motion?
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Second? Okay.
We'd also ask you, one last thing is, if you have any contact, it sounds like Kim might have one, invite them, because at the last time we thought we were in a good spot, so invite them. Our invitation will go out to tell them to come to the next park board meeting. We'll hopefully iron all this out and put it together.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to receive and file the skate park rules as presented. All those in favor? Aye. It passes.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fee waiver.
We have in front of you the report for the calendar year of 2018. All the fee waivers per code. We're making our report tonight. We entertain any questions. Last year that we had this conversation with the board, there was good direction, so we've even further dialed back. So any questions you have on any of these, this is the fee waiver that we'll also share with the city manager.
Anything on that? Any comments? Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, we got through, what time did we start? 5, we got through in an hour and a half, and I think that's tremendous. And I want to tell you guys, thank you for being here. I think it's important, and I will also say, thank you, Ben, for encouraging to keep it going, because can you imagine if we would have postponed trying to get all the support and everything back here at another date? So I thought you
George?
did.
Did we vote on that? We did a motion and a second. Did we vote?
Receive and file?
On the receive and file.
Right.
Yeah.
We motioned, seconded.
I think we did.
I thought we did.
I think we did.
All those in
Okay,
favor?
maybe I didn't.
We're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it again.
Sorry,
We have a
guys.
motion and a second for the skate park rules or the fee waiver. You're talking about the fee waiver? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Just wanted to
Thank you.
keep us here for another minute.
Anything else that we need to bring up
But
tonight?
you didn't say opposed for the rules.
Never says.
When I hear a big voice, okay, all those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, now this is an important motion here. Motion to,
Adjourn.
So moved.
we're not voting. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Any opposition to the final motion?
Oh, anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.